So, Indies, yeah. I so Indies, yeah. Go and try your luck, test me in again, we let it rain.
This is Ty, creator of the Loner Chronicles, and these last 2 years have been quite a journey for me. I don't know how the situation was for some of you all, but these last 2 years have definitely been a roller coaster ride for me. Everything from like dealing with my finances. At one point, things in my relationship wasn't going that well. Just dealing with the sickness in general, losing family members, kids getting sick all the time. At one point, me and my wife both had COVID, and it was quite. I say it was quite an emotional roller coaster ride. Just a lot of things just came into question, even with myself, like just dealing with mental health and childhood trauma came back into the fold. So it kind of took me into this dark space that I've never been in. So for the first time, I had to deal with a different challenge than what I was normally used to. But not to veer too much off of the subject, I still want to get into what today's discussion is going to be about. And we're going to be talking about mental health, not specifically targeting their subject, but more towards growing up in a black family and having that tough love parenting style. And I'm going to get into talking about the causes and effects of that, and that's going to kind of tie into mental health. Speaking on that subject, but to get back to where I was at, but these last 2 years is crazy, and if you all have any experiences or any story that you all would like to tell, definitely leave it in the comments. And I have a listening ear and a watchful eye, so I'll definitely be more than glad to hear what you guys got to say. But to get into my subject, we're talking about the black parents' tough love, and is that parenting style considered toxic? Now, I can say for myself, being in these situations, from a personal experience, that this is definitely going to be a sensitive topic for me, but at the same time, I do want to get personal because this is what my channel is about. So I want to be as real as possible because, we all have issues and things that we go through in life, and it all affects us in different ways. So, why not put it out there? If this was probably me a couple of years ago, I wouldn't even been open, or making myself be this vulnerable when it comes to talking about my feelings or just problems in life in general, that we all face. But one thing that I discovered again with these 2 years, I discovered that I could no longer just push my problems to the side and just kind of deal with life. I actually had to face those challenges, and for me to be able to have this conversation today, I had to hop many hurdles. So like I said, this subject is definitely something that sensitive subject, and I want to be personal. So we're gonna go ahead and get back into it. But the reason why I'm talking about this subject in particular is it's just something that I've not only seen in my household, but I've seen that in friends' households. I've seen that in other family members' households, and how dysfunctional things can be at times because of this type of parenting style. Now, I get that the circumstances and the times make things different, but the problem is the adaptability, and having this mindset of being tough and resilient is not always going to be received from every child. That type of style is not going to be received through every child because each child is different. You know, they have a mixture of two people, and they turn into this one person, and they have their own personality, their own feelings. So that type of parenting style doesn't always work, and the circumstances changes for the child. And sometimes parents get caught up into this own loop of traumatizing things or things that may have happened in their lifetime. So it ended up going back into this full circle, and some of that same things or trauma that they had to deal with end up being transferred into their kids. But I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit further. But I remember my dad treated me a certain way growing up because I had a similar resemblance to his father. I remember my dad telling me this story a dozen times over and over, and it stuck with me over the years, but I never fully understood it. I had to become an adult to fully understand the meaning behind his story. So like my dad had a way of telling me stories that would be so simple, but when you think about it in the long run, even though he's speaking on simple terms, it has multiple meanings. And as I've gotten older and I started to understand my father from a different perspective, I started to understand his message behind what he was saying. So this story that he told me, it was just about his childhood growing up. I say it was very brief, but it meant so much now, and I have that understanding is that he was raised in a single parent home. He had multiple siblings. It was between him and 6 other siblings. There was no father presence in the house. It was kind of one of those things, mom, just couldn't find the right man. So growing up in those times, this is back in the 50s and 60s, and things were a lot different. The climate was a lot different when it came to like racial issues and social inequality and so forth. We're not gonna get all into that, but circumstances were different. So with that parenting style, they had to instill that in their children to be tough and resilient, because that's the experiences that their parents had before them, or their grandparents before them, or their great grandparents. So because of those things that happen within history, that trauma, just like I said, it just gets into this one big circle, and it just transfers that energy over, and it's just a repeat step, and it just get passed down. So you would understand why they had to be conditioned that way. But there was no father presence in the household. But the story that stuck to me so much was the reason why he showed me tough love, and I had to understand that. But like I said, that this story really stuck to me. So it was about his father. His father got him this bicycle for his 7th birthday. Now this is the first time his dad has ever given him anything. Like his dad never said happy birthday. He never called him, never came to visit. He just wasn't a presence in his life. So for the first time on the 7th birthday, he got him this bicycle. And at first my dad was skeptical. I'm sure like any child would. If you have that type of relationship with your parents, of course you're going to be skeptical about it. So his dad wanted to send a message that, I'm serious this time around. This is something that I really want to do. So he called the school. He made sure that the message was received. My dad got excited to hear that his father finally got him something. So my dad, he rushed home. He anticipated to get this bicycle. He waited all day. Hours passed. He still doesn't get no phone call, no nothing from his father. his mom receives this call from the hospital, and come to find out, he found out that his dad died in the hospital. And he was still able to get his bicycle, but it didn't feel the same because it wasn't from his father. His father was never there in his life. And then for the first time that he was going to receive something, he wasn't able to get that from his dad. So you can imagine what kind of effect that would have on any child if they had to go through that experience. So because of this, my dad, he had this negative kind of sense on life, and it affected him growing up into manhood, because his mom can only do so much, and a man can only teach a man how to be one. And without him having that presence, his mom could only do so much. So he had to kind of navigate through life in his own journey and try to figure things out. So I would understand why he would have some of those mental health issues, which we're going to talk about a little bit further. But as I was saying previously, the older I got and I gained more experience with life, I realized that hidden pain my father suppressed for many years was psychological stress during his childhood. And because of this experience, I endured myself. I educated myself, and I understood his perspective on life from a point of view other than my own. Once I started to get counseling myself to handle some of the issues in my life. Now, as I said, I'm aware that generational trauma can happen to anyone from any race, culture, creed, etc. You name it. But the reason why this issue is so big in the Black community, because there was those extreme circumstances that I was speaking on, that our generations before us had to endure. And I know it's going to sound cliche. I know that this gets said so often, but it had such a profound effect in history that it's hard to forget things like racism, slavery, discrimination, police brutality, living in harsh circumstances or environments. And all of those things combined, it has a generational effect to this day. Now, with all of those factors in mind, it doesn't mean that we as the Black community, we can't evolve or adapt with the current times. But I said, it just makes it hard to forget, because some of the same issues from the past are still happening today. Now, it may not be as extreme as it was in the past, but to some degree, it still happens. So, out of everything that's been said so far, the thing that stood out to me, and it just kind of stuck in my head with this conversation, is that the feelings, again, going back to my father, is that the feelings that he harvested inside of his mind was something that he endured from his parents. And unfortunately, I became a part of the cycle, or you all became a part of the cycle. We as people, we become a part of the cycle. And we see our parents struggling to cope with emotional damage from their childhood. And most of the time, without them being fully aware, they unintentionally bring some of that same pain into our lives. And because of this, it leads my generation and the generation after me of having problems that were never addressed, because our parents' troubles never were when they were younger. So with that being said, one of the biggest issues is not talking about mental health. And it starts within the household and all of the problems that could be faced. Now, I know that to many in the Black community, it's a sign of weakness, but we have to consider why tough love exists in the first place, and why we got conditioned through fear. Now, it is believed that the idea of physical punishment between the Black parent and child came from that same past oppression that I was speaking on. And because of what we've been taught for years, we always view the world as cold or bad. And we have that habit of insulating those same things into our children. Instead of giving our children some individuality to let them live their life. Yes, we can give them awareness about the world and what the world can do, because, you know, the world can be a dangerous place if you're not careful. But we have to let them be their own individuals and let them view the world from their own lens and not force feed ways of the world. We have a bad habit of insulating those type of things to our children, so we have to start there and start to make changes. So with me being a parent myself, I would always think about some of the things that my parents told me growing up. And one thing that I would always hear is keep living and you'll see how the world can be. Or I'm being hard on you out of love. But at some point, we got to be honest. I have to be honest with myself as a parent. My parent has to be honest with themselves and so forth. And we have to realize that it's plain abuse. And it doesn't have to always be in the physical form, but you have to think about the emotional form. You know, a lot of the times we can say things to our kids, and eventually that abuse of receiving just the negative, and why this and why that, it's going to put this idea in their mind like it's my fault, or it's always my fault, or maybe I should have never been here because my parents are always blaming things on me. So that emotional effect can be just as effective as the physical form. And that's what I was speaking on, like the verbal abuse as well, especially when there's no explanation why it's being said in the first place. And most of the time, if it's not justified, it doesn't matter what problems or whatever trials or tribulations that we go through in life or that our kids go through, it won't make a difference. If we continue this same cycle of trauma, this same cycle of pain and hurt, and we endure our pain unto our children, and our children are enduring that same pain on their children, no message is going to get across. And we're going to keep going through this same loop. But we have to find different ways to parent without abuse, and we must begin to own and accept that. And it's not to put a judgmental cloud on anyone. It's not to say that I'm the judge, jury, and executioner of you know, today's topic. I'm not trying to guilt shame anyone. I'm not trying to speak highly on myself. It's just to put the awareness out there, and I'm trying to make a positive message for everyone, and I hope that it can be received in some kind of way. And like I said, I have a watchful eye and a listening ear. If you have anything else to say in the comments or to elaborate further on the subject, like I said, I'm all ears. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell the next time that I come out with some more videos. I appreciate y'all for listening, you know, either way. I hope you all have a great day, a great night, great month, a great year. Peace.